Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody out there is having a good night. Welcome to Out of Focus Tech. I'm Adam,
And I'm Vic.
and tonight we're going to talk about some tech subjects and probably not stay on topic. Uh, so I think tonight we got queued up a little bit on AI and the Artificial Intelligence Bill of Rights that we're going to definitely not talk objectively about. And then I think we're going to objectively look at some IoT vulnerabilities due to some discussions we've had around the office and stuff here recently. We're just going to go ahead and bring that up as a point of contention, or a point of conversation, rather. So, thanks everybody for being here. Uh, don't forget, if we're adding value, drop a comment, let us know what's going on. Send questions our way. We'll be glad to look at stuff for you. Um, so, without further ado, first thing we're going to get into is the AI Bill of Rights, which, I originally started looking this up because I'm not the world's biggest fan of artificial intelligence. And I was looking to see what they were doing to protect individuals from um, being abused and falling victim to AI in many different ways. And then I came across this. Oddly enough, I think if I go back over here to where I Googled it, it wasn't even like it's towards the top, but I mean, it wasn't even I mean, you can see the White House stuff that we're going to go over is what, six on the list, um, 6, 7 on the list. So this wasn't even on the top, uh, which are to tell you just how irrelevant it really is. But being a U.S. citizen, I I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. I'm a little disappointed in this. I kind of expected better from our governing bodies, um, because I think as we dig into this, we're going to notice that what sounds like should be a good thing probably isn't. Now, also being completely honest, as an American citizen, our government's let us down before, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. But um, anyway, I figure we could dig into this. Vic, you got any opening thoughts going into this?
Yeah, this thing. I mean, it's probably been like what 2 years now. I think this is no, somewhere in that vicinity. It was published somewhere in October.
October 22, I think, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
October 22. Yeah, so it's been out there for a while, and it's just weird that now it's starting to come to light.
Yeah, that was something else I found kind of odd because I know that there are a lot of consumer concerns about artificial intelligence and what it's doing with technology and everything else. And for the government to have already kind of started addressing this at the very least, um, I won't say that they've addressed it. I think, in all honesty, this is just a start or was a start. But I, this didn't get too much headlines and too much publicity, which I thought to be out of the norm, I guess.
From from everything that I've been reading about it, it's not really like I know it's kind of called the Bill of Rights, but it's more like a blueprint. You know, like it doesn't there's nothing it doesn't create laws or policies or anything
Right.
like it's just something to throw out there probably just to show the people that hey, we're doing something
Yeah.
before
There
they
are a
kill
few.
us.
Well, I don't know. I hesitate to call them actual policies, but there are a few definitions of what I feel like should be policies to come. If they haven't already, some of these may actually already be written into law. But if they are, they're buried in the back as a rider to something else. Um, I was not really able to find any good links that says, as some of these policy definitions we'll look at towards the end, where they were actually implemented and mean anything. Um, but I could be wrong, and I could have just missed it. I have
Yeah,
zero reputable legal experience.
I mean, I haven't
You
seen
know,
any place where any of these where they've created any actual policy for AI.
yeah. I mean, even in our work is supporting technology on the with the government as a customer. From time to time, like even on that side, we're not seeing like any governance as to what AI could be used for, should be used for, what would normally be expected, at least from my point of view, is where can I use this? What should I not use this for? Because generally, like especially when you're dealing with the government, if they come out with, you know, they'll come out and say, "Hey, this newfangled technology X, you're not allowed to use it to process PII. Don't process HIPAA or some of the other categories of data that they have." And I have not seen any of that come out at all for artificial intelligence as a whole.
You
Um,
know, I think it's in here. I think part of it is, yeah, data privacy.
mhm.
You know, so with that, like, how does that work if AI knows more about me than I know about myself? You know,
Yeah.
like, should I have the option to opt out and have all my information not used by AI? Or
Yep, and I think that's covered little bit lower. So I guess let's just jump into it. So right off the beginning, this page, which is from the it's at whitehouse.gov or yeah, whitehouse.gov. This was a press release statement from the White House, and I'll be sure to include it in the show notes so that you can go verify with your own eyes. Um, and right off the bat, like it kind of spoke to me as a good thing because I am anti AI. Not. I don't think we should go and plug every computer that hosts AI. I'm just. It has accelerated so much that uh, it gives me concern. So I don't like it. And right off the bat, they're like, talking about AI and uh, being a challenge posed to democracy. And they even start off with a little phrase here. Too often, these tools are used to limit our opportunities and prevent our access to critical resources and services. And I was like, well, as I'm reading this, I'm like, prevent opportunities. That's a bit weird phrasing, but like, we'll keep going. Maybe that's just somebody else is thinking this a slightly different light. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I keep reading, and then I come to this. Unchecked social media data collection has been used to threaten people's opportunities, undermine their privacy, or persuasively track their activity, often without their knowledge or consent. That is something that I wholeheartedly agree with, and kind of my my take on it is not just social media data, but I think it's data in general. And the more AI becomes available and accessible by the general public, the more and more data it has to have access to. It's the only way it works because using chat gpt and all that, like there's different kinds of ai, and I don't understand it all, but a lot of what most people think of as using ai, like when they ask google to look something up for them, or siri, or they're just prompting chat gtp, that's really it's it's nothing more than a really advanced search filter.
yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. I mean,
And then you're relying on the models and data that they train this AI bot to be able to search what you ask, flush out exactly what you're asking, and provide results pertaining to your question. Even if it is you tell Chat GPT to go write you a killer resume for this job, it's got to go search its models and its data sources to piece together and formulate that response. That's all it is. So some people are, every time you ask chat gpt a question or any of those models, I feel like you're doing nothing but training it and probably giving it more access to information than what you need to.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that that thing has gotten so big over the last. I mean, how long's ChatGPT been around? It hasn't been that long. I'm
No, I mean I want to say close to 2 years that it's been, you know, kind of generally accessible.
You got to think like
Um,
probably most of the stuff that it knows now are just from questions that we've
right.
asked it.
Yeah, that we've asked it and it's had to go find and crawl and um, so so right off the bat after reading this first paragraph, I'm like, all right, they get it. They're bringing up some legitimate concerns, and it looks like they're bringing forward they're presenting the problem, or at least from my point of view, what I view the problem as, and they're bringing it up, and looks like they're going to go do their best to try and and tackle a way to get um, get it going and actually do a way to protect people from artificial intelligence, and maybe the other way around as well. But I'm looking at it as protect people from this. And they come out with a statement 3 or 4 paragraphs in. The blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights is a guide for society that protects all people from these threats and uses technologies in ways that reinforce our highest values.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
seems like the purpose is to protect humans,
Right.
protect Americans.
Yeah. So, uh,
Yeah,
one thing I may have skipped over what I'm looking for. Go ahead with what you were saying.
so yeah, things that are put online, let's say banking
Hmm.
or healthcare even. There should be a system of continuous monitoring, and I think I saw that in there somewhere. And that I kind of really like that. Like it needs to be monitored 24/7 to make sure that it's not
Hmm.
doing anything that it shouldn't be doing. And then what which one is that? With the second, I guess part of the Bill of Rights, algorithm discrimination. That's
Yeah, that.
actually kind of scary. I mean, what if they put something in there like anybody with long curly hair now you know
Yeah, I'll save my thoughts on that till we get down there, because that was kind of where I started. They really started losing me on this. So after the little intro there, and this is we're setting out to protect human interests and all this stuff. They start laying out what I'm going to consider the blueprints and the definitions for what should become policies. The way that they have this laid out, that's the way I'm looking at it. Is the following things we're going to talk about is what they would put into legal format with some of that weird jargon and some signatures on the bottom to make it law. First one right off the bat sounds right. Safe and effective systems. Automated systems should be developed with consultation from diverse community stakeholders and domain experts to identify concerns, risks, and potential impacts of systems. That all makes sense.
yeah,
Like,
sounds legit.
you don't one person doesn't try a new heart procedure and it just becomes general practice. Like, there's checks and balances that go through there. Like, they have to get all the procedure tasks vetted, validated, and signed off by medical boards and all that. Say yes, you know this is a valid procedure. It's not Dr. Jekyll out here you know playing with tinker toys. So that makes sense. If you were to codify this and make it law, I think that is that is a good start. And it kind of goes into some plain language about like systems should undergo pre-deployment testing, how risks are identified, what you would do to mitigate those risks, and back to your point, ongoing monitoring um, that demonstrates that the tools are safe and effective. Um,
Yeah, but then that goes to because we're Americans, and,
mhm.
and of course we'll take anything that's signed into law and we will interpret it.
Yeah,
And and that creates its own set of problems.
right. And my problem is like just looking at this, like as I look into it with the slightly cynical view of the world that I have. It's like, what determines that they are safe and effective based on their intended use? Uh, what if I what if I sell you a an application? I'm just going to use a phone application um, that looks like a fun crossword puzzle game, but I actually intended the the intended use of this is to build a password dictionary for brute force password cracking or something like that. And I'm using AI to formulate words and phrases based on crossword answers tried or crossword answers submitted, right?
Yeah,
Well,
sounds like you're about to build a botnet.
yeah, but I you say that's an incorrect, like I shouldn't be doing that, right? But by this definition, I intend it to collect those password that data to make passwords, so it's working by its intended use. So who gets to decide what the intended use is, or where what becomes fraud, what becomes out of bounds, that kind of stuff. That may not have been the perfect example to give, but it's like some of this is very open for interpretation. And
Yeah, there.
again, this isn't like a signed congressional law or anything, so I'm sure that there'd be more put into it. This is the stuff that just concerns me. And in the same thing, there's a talks about maintaining adherence to domain specific standards. Who sets those standards? And
Yeah,
what like you have data domain standards, your HIPAA, PII, law enforcement data. There's all kinds of different data standards out there, and data domains and all of this stuff. But when you start talking about just stuff at scale and the general availability, like who sets that? Who who gets to decide what AI really goes and does? Like, can I build a rock paper scissors app where you pay $1 for the chance to beat an AI bot at rock paper scissors on a text based entry,
let me write that down.
and make it so that AI never loses? Like, and then if that is wrong, who says that's wrong? What domain does that fall under?
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely something that's going to be interpreted. And something that I'm thinking about is how long before like I go to call my doctor, or maybe it's all online now, and I don't want to talk to an AI. Is there going to be like a human alternative, or am
I
I
don't
stuck
know.
to a computer? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, how do you think the world's going to look in probably like 20 years at the rate that AI is evolving?
yeah. So there is in this is the human alternatives consideration and fallback clauses or section, and it says right here you should be able to opt out where appropriate and have access to a person who could quickly consider and remedy problems you encounter.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean that's in there
that's
for now.
great, but what's the where appropriate?
Yeah, true. And then how long before they just take that all out altogether and they're like, well, it's cheaper to not have a human alternative,
Yeah,
so we're gonna start
or
phasing that out.
or what you get now. Like, think about if you have to call into any major call center for anything, uh, you've got to go through the AI prompts right off the bat, and even uh, you get in first chance you get to ask to speak to a human or representative, whatever. Like I forget where I called the other day. It might have been my insurance company or something, like my health insurance company or something. Uh, Called somebody. Oh, it was a hospital about a billing question, and when I finally got to the option where I could just press zero or whatever to speak to a representative about the problem, it then it immediately started prompting me. The expected wait time is an hour or whatever. Are you sure you would not like to try and resolve your problem through our automated processes? and then the longer I waited, like every 5 minutes, that prompt started changing and getting slightly more aggressive and slightly more aggressive. And
Did
you
you
should consider going through our automated system instead of sitting on hold
did you
waiting for a person.
did you get mad like I do and just start yelling representative,
Uh, I guess
representative?
I at that point no, because you're already like I'd already selected that option, and I'm in the queue for a person. But it's like if you want to use AI to make my life in that point better, use it to take my number and give me a callback function so that when the next available representative comes available, they can call out to me. Like instead of making me sit on this phone, like I'm fine with knowing that somebody will call me back in an hour, hour and a half most of the time. But you know, eh,
I mean, there are also good points. I mean, like just like it's like the whole botnet thing we had
yeah,
touched on. You can use AI to identify where the requests are originating from. From malicious sources or if they're legitimate sources.
okay, but let's stay on that. Like, just look at sources. All right, so you say sources of attack. One of the things we were looking at earlier was showing the distribution of attack vectors, or not attack vectors, but I think it was infected equipment by geographic region. It was breaking it down by country. Um, oh, that's all cool because that seems like good information. But if you take this point that I've got pulled up now, algorithmic discrimination protections into account, like, can you trust it? If I don't like Peruvians, I'm just making something up, and I want to start making them seem like bad people. Well, maybe I can start building a Peruvian bias into some AI algorithms out there, and every time that country comes into a stat group, whatever the stat is, whether it needs to go high, low, or whatever, I can have AI just make it appear worse than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, just think
Um,
they can make it so that two guys with beards don't get any views.
that's right, they could. It says right here, like unjustified different treatment or impacts disfavoring people based on normal EO stuff, race, color, ethnicity, sex, blah blah blah. Not to downplay this, but it's like these people are supposed to be protected, and I'm thinking like, why do we need AI specific stuff for that? Because if if you're following ethical business practices leading up to the distribution of that should all already be taken into account in other processes. So this kind of concerns me because it's like, are we at the point where AI is starting to make its own AI, and AI is becoming discriminatory for some reason or another?
Huh? That right there is it's another scary thought. IA making AIs.
Yeah. I mean, why else would you need this law?
I mean,
I mean, because
if you think about
any other way you slice it, like even if it's not in the algorithm of AI, if you're taking and you're altering data to present discrimination at any point, you're violating, at least in the U.S., one of what seems like 1,000 discrimination laws these days. Um, and I'm not trying to make light of discrimination. It's a bad thing, but it just seems like if it's here, then something already exists that makes that a problem. And like maybe I'm being too cynical. Maybe this is to help protect the thought I just had sitting here is like maybe this to help protect us from say uh, non-US based technologies. Um, maybe maybe things like China and North Korea, some of those places developing AI that does things that legitimately does discriminate against everybody that's not government officials or whatever.
I could definitely see that happening. You remember back in 2016 ish, I guess, that big thing that
Hmm.
came out, it almost brought the internet to a halt. But the Mariah botnet, is that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah, that's the one we were talking about earlier. That here I got it pulled up here. Do you have it pulled up on yours?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a white paper about the Mariah botnet from 2016. Um, let's see.
You know, it said that, these things were able to scan the internet for IoT devices.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had a dictionary of the most common, you know, usernames and passwords that they put in from the
Yeah.
factory. So, once it found an IoT device, it was able to get it to join its botnet.
Yep.
And then they performed a denial of service attack on some DNS providers.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if, those are humans doing that, but you imagine if
This.
AI got a hold of that
Oh
script?
yeah. Yeah. The speed the AI and at this point, let's just. I think it's safe to assume that anything that is in the public internet domain, AI has access to one way or another.
I mean,
And
IoT devices are tools to make life simpler. But
right.
I mean, yeah,
And
no,
you think about it now, just about every IoT device uh, incorporates with AI some way, whether it's because it incorporates with your um, Amazon Home Assistant, your Google Assistant, Siri with Apple, like all these home automation tools at the very least are all backed by AI in some way. Um, so the more that comes out, I mean, security cameras. You know, I use a IoT type device for security cameras here on my property. Um, all that is fair game. And if not, it is not even just the like the default passwords and stuff. Like every CVE that's released, every vulnerability and exploit that becomes known and published through like MITRE or any of them that do the security CVEs. It's all searchable content that any AI bot could pick up on and be like, oh, well, I just learned that quick-set smart locks are vulnerable to this attack vector. And let me just organize 458,000 of them to shut down Google for the day.
yeah, that's exactly what that script does. Once it logs into your IoT device, it has that looking for more IoT devices.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just becomes a secondary, um, it just becomes a secondary device. And then you start getting exponential growth on devices within the net, and it becomes near impossible to stop. And when you're able to, especially like with the speed of AI and not depending on a human or a fleet of humans to be behind a keyboard to adapt and mutate something, AI, you can have AI kind of responding and manipulating the code and everything else as it grows. Like if it you know if that same CVE is addressed and released with a patch is released, well, it can automatically start working on a workaround for that patch. Like the exponential speed at which that stuff is now possible is scary.
Just like that, what they calling it, a quantum PC or something like that
Yeah,
Google's got.
yeah, the quantum computing.
Or they're saying that they're not completely, they don't completely understand how it even works
Mm-hmm.
and how fast it's learning and how fast
Yeah.
it's,
Yep.
it just knows things.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Um, but continuing on with our Bill of Rights here. The next section is data privacy, which I would expect to see. I would expect them to be doubling down on the data domains, PII, HIPAA, that kind of stuff. For those not in the U.S., HIPAA is our Health Information Privacy Acts. Um, and it says you should be protected from violations of privacy through design choices that ensure such protections are included by default, including ensuring that data collection conforms to reasonable expectations and that only data strictly necessary for specific context is collected. Well, that sounds good, but if you give this this machine permission to your first and last name, this one permission to get to your address, and machine C can get to your phone number, how do we know none of those are linked in the background?
And you know they will be.
Yeah, they will be eventually. Um, One of the things I did like about this section, though, and I think this should be a law for any of these legalese documents like privacy uh, documents and all the terms and conditions that you have to sign online. It says any consent request should be brief, be understandable in plain language, and give you agency over data collection the specific context of use. Um, Basically saying that once you read what should be a very brief description of what it's trying to collect and why, you know what data they want, what they're trying to do with it, and how it helps you. It shouldn't be a 25-page legal document disclaimer. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think that should be backwards compatible to anything that you have to sign for terms of agreement or whatever in the digital space.
I mean, hopefully this stuff like this can, get rid of all those, term to service things that we just blindly click on.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hate to print out the terms and services that I have just blindly acknowledged over the years. I bet I could fill my house with paper if I did, because they get long. It's like every time I'm like, you know what, I'm actually going to read this and I'm going to know what they're doing, and I get about two paragraphs in and I'm like, you know what, it's dinner time. Scroll down to the
Yeah.
bottom, click the button, and move on with life. I'm just as guilty as everybody else. They have another one on here about notice and explanation. Designers, developers, and deployers of automated systems should provide generally accessible plain language documentation, including descriptions of overall systems functions and the role automation plays. Um, which I don't know. I feel like the first one kind of covered that with the what was it, the data and privacy there, but that's also a good thing. Like that may help you understand what's going on. But uh, you know, I don't know how many times people would go looking for that stuff. Here's your favorite section, and mine too. Realistically, the human alternatives, consideration of fallback. Again, you should be able to opt out of all these AI processes when appropriate, and I think at all times. Um, with the except, yeah, I can't even think of a good exception. Maybe if just um, the first couple options of a call center trying to help you route your call. But realistically, even then, if you know, like just to meet ADA, which is the American Disability Act, like right away they got to give you the options for uh, touch type telephony or other accessibility options. And I mean, right away you could just add an option in there, zero, to talk to a representative. You know what? Your wait times may go up, and but you may also find that for some things people are willing to deal with the AI automation, but there are going to be some times when it's there's a sense of urgency, or they have a hard time, they're not sure how to clarify their point to get through the automated system, that it could be needed. I don't think it would be that hard to say that you should be able to opt out of everywhere. Um, you should have access to timely human consideration and remedy of a fallback and escalation process if an automated system fails.
And,
Um,
but it'll start scaling back. I mean, it'll start out like that, but then you
Yeah,
might, be one or two people, or two humans that you can talk to.
yeah, yep. And I think I missed it in the beginning, and I'm not going to go back up there. And I think what I'm about to summarize here will kind of show what I was thinking. Like some of this, somewhere I read that a lot of this like had to do with like There was a uh, big to do about insurance claims processing because, like everything else, it's automated now, and somewhere somebody accused them of building discrimination into that. Um,
You, I'm sure they did.
I, maybe, maybe not. I'm just going to say that I think anybody that has it doesn't take anybody long dealing with their health insurance companies trying to get medical issues fixed to just absolutely lose their patience and start getting mad about everything. Normally, rightfully so. I'm that's but I I take that with a grain of salt because maybe they're just mad because they can't get the answers to why their surgery request was denied. That's a whole nother can of worms, but maybe that was just the scapegoat of the week or whatever.
Yeah, you never know.
Um, but so there was a lot of good stuff in this blueprint, but where they really lost me was when you got down here to the applying blueprint, the applying the application of this article. It says where to apply it. Applies This framework applies to automated systems that have the potential to meaningfully affect the Americans' public's rights, opportunities, or access to critical resources or services. And then it goes into, I mean, just right off the bat, civil rights, civil liberties, and processes, equal opportunity. Then we get back around to access to critical resources or services such as healthcare, financial services, safety, and so forth, so on. It's like I feel like in the end they overplayed and overdid the civil rights and equal opportunity. I mean,
Yeah, this is there's definitely gonna be more to come. Um,
yeah, I think so. I just like reading this. I was really on board at first, which is odd for me to be on board with anything the government does sometimes. But and then I get down here to the end, and I'm like, all right, well, this just kind of fizzled out to. And then I went back and read it again, and like, the second paragraph was the algorithmic discrimination, and I'm like, okay,
I
this
mean,
started out good, but now it feels like a political toy.
and I'm pretty sure that that's how it started out. Like it had good intentions, but then all the politics got their hands in there, just like it always does.
Yeah, yeah. I yeah, I don't know. AI is just becoming so big so quick nowadays. Um, through the holiday season, I started seeing the commercials where everybody's, all the new Windows PCs are coming with Copilot built in. Samsung's smartphones now have Samsung AI. I can't remember what their proprietary name is. Apple's doing it now with Apple Intelligence, and it's just like, and you can't even some of those things like Apple Intelligence. I use iPhones and Apple stuff. Like it's built into the iOS, and I don't own one yet, but it doesn't look like it's easy to go disable. And part of it is like now it's like it's being shoved in your face so much it's annoying. Sometimes I want to make the mistakes. I want to think for myself.
Stop thinking like that. You need
I don't
AI.
need AI to do everything.
Yeah, let's hope it never gets to that point.
Yeah, I don't. I hope so, but it's 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 slowly getting there, and then with the IoT stuff we were talking about, you start talking about thinking about how quick AI has grown, what it can do, and then now adding in things AI baked into IoT devices, which are already highly vulnerable. If you ever want to be scared, I encourage you to go Google IoT TV vulnerabilities, like these things that are supposed to just plug into an outlet in your house and help make your life better, and you don't have to interface with and set up too much. That's not a good thing. Like they're falling vulnerable to this. This is a top 10 list from Fortinet. Um, they're falling vulnerable to every one of these things, and it's not changing. Uh, you
And
know,
what was the
it's going to continue.
what was the password for that TP link stuff? What was it, like admin and then like 1 2 3 4 or something like that?
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. Or and even if the default password is not admin123, you know, think about most things like my AT&T home Wi-Fi router. On the back there's a label that says, what the default admin password is for it. That's in a database somewhere. Like whoever made that router didn't just print it on that label and forget that character string existed.
Yeah.
That's in a database somewhere. Or most likely is in a database somewhere. So it's like, can I leverage AI to start searching all these vendors for incorrectly stored databases? And if I
Right.
get, you know, if I get a list of passwords, like how many people don't change those passwords? Because it's a good password. It's random characters and strings, and it's when I'm typing it seems like 483 of them. I think it's like 16 characters or something, but it's a lot. And it's there's no word, just random characters, upper, lower, special characters, numbers, all that stuff. So it seems secure. So a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's good enough." But if it's out there and available,
Yeah, then AI's got it already.
yeah. So I think, as I admitted at the beginning, I'm cynical of AI. I'm not the world's biggest fan. I think maybe there's some good start stuff happening, but it really needs to be, um, get the ball removing on codifying some of that stuff. So it's it leads to a scary world everywhere I look at it.
Yep.
So, Vic, you got anything else to add? I'm kind of running out of air on this one.
Yeah. You know, I kind of like, the whole thing, the AI, and to see where it's going. But at the same time, I think it's moving a little bit too fast.
Hmm.
Just it needs to slow down for a minute. But yeah, if anybody's got any questions or anything we can ask or anything we can answer, just go ahead and post them below. Um,
Yeah,
if you found this information useful, hit that thumbs up. I'm Vic.
I'm Adam. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you out of focus next time.